Hey folks, welcome back to the Stoic journey. Let me ask you something. Do you think life is some kind of movie where you're the side character waiting for a hero to rescue you? Do you think your endless patience will one day pay off and they'll wake up, look at you, and realize you're the one? Because if that's what you've been banking on, I've got news for you. They're fooling you hard, and the worst part? You're letting them do it. Here's the brutal reality. While you're busy clinging to every little interaction, hoping they'll finally see your worth, they're living their life like you don't even matter. You've become the background noise to their highlight reel. They've placed you in a neat little box labeled "always available," and they expect you to stay there waiting like some loyal fan. But the truth is, they've already written you off as predictable. And as long as you keep playing along, hoping your kindness or your effort will win their affection, nothing changes. But here's the twist. Everything shifts the moment you pull away. You're not giving them space or time to think. Number 1. The shock of lost control. When you finally pull away, you're throwing their entire game into chaos. Their comfort zone is gone, their control is shattered, and trust me, they won't see it coming. One day, they had you wrapped around their little finger, and the next, you're a ghost in their story, one they can't stop thinking about. But let me warn you, this isn't some manipulative trick. It's about reclaiming what should have been yours all along, your power. Because right now, whether you admit it or not, you've been running on their schedule, showing up when they wanted, texting first, making plans they didn't deserve, and they've been loving every minute of it. But when you pull away, really pull away, it forces them to wake up. Suddenly, the silence you leave behind will scream louder than anything you've ever said to them. Do you really think they'll stay cool when you disappear from their radar? You think they won't feel the absence of your presence, your energy, your attention? Think again. The human brain doesn't know how to handle sudden loss. It panics. It starts overanalyzing, filling in the gaps with worst-case scenarios. Where did they go? Who are they with? Did they move on? Have I been replaced? These questions will consume them like wildfire. And the more they try to act like they don't care, the deeper it burns. You see, the power of pulling away isn't just in the physical absence. It's in the psychological storm it creates. Every moment of silence becomes a reminder of the control they thought they had over you. They'll tell themselves they're fine without you, maybe even try to move on. But that's just the fear talking. Because deep down, they know they've lost access to someone irreplaceable, and that knowledge will eat at them day and night. And guess what? They'll hate it. They'll hate that they're checking their phone for a message that isn't coming. They'll hate that they're scrolling through your social media, looking for some sign, some clue that maybe you missed them too. They'll hate that you've stopped playing by their rules, and that they're no longer the center of your world. And in the quiet moments, when they think no one's watching, they'll start to unravel. This is the part nobody tells you. The moment you stop giving them all of you is the moment they start feeling the loss in ways they never expected. It's like a void that grows bigger every day, and no distraction, no fling, no quick fix will fill it. You were more than just company. You were stability, comfort, attention, things they took for granted until they vanished. And now, every second without you is a reminder that they gambled with something priceless and lost. But here's where it gets interesting. The more you stay silent, the more their mind plays tricks on them. Every day you don't text first, they spiral deeper into their own insecurities. Are they seeing someone else? Did they finally realize they deserve better than me? That's the beauty of pulling away. You force them to confront their own fears. You make them realize that they were never in control. They just thought they were. And the best part? While they're over there losing their grip, you're reclaiming your own. This isn't about manipulation. It's about freedom. Freedom from the games. Freedom from the constant need for approval. Freedom to walk away knowing that your value isn't tied to whether someone else recognizes it. You're done being a supporting character in their story. You're the star of your own. And the plot twist? They're no longer part of the script, unless you decide they are. Let them wonder. Let them miss you. Let them wrestle with their own doubts and regrets, but don't you dare break the silence first. If they want back in, they'll have to earn it. And even then, it's on your terms. Because the truth is, the moment you pull away, you shift the power. They stop being the prize. You are. So here's my challenge to you. Pull away. Not just a little, completely. Let them sit with the emptiness of life without you. And when they finally come crawling back, and trust me, they will, you'll know one thing for certain. You were always the one in control. If you're ready to take back your power, drop the phrase, "I'm done being an option" in the comments. Because from now on, you're not chasing anyone. You're not playing their games. You're done. And the best part? They'll have no idea what hit them. This is just the beginning. Stick with me, and let's dive deeper into exactly what happens when you pull away. Because what's coming next? They never saw it coming. Number 1, the shock of lost control. When you pull away, everything changes for the person who thought they had control over you. It feels like the rug has been pulled out from under them, leaving them scrambling to regain their balance. This is the shock of lost control. The moment they realize the power dynamic has shifted and they're no longer in the driver's seat. They were so comfortable, so confident that you'd always be there, orbiting around them, that they never imagined you'd pull away. But now that you have, it's like a tidal wave of confusion and panic hits them all at once. The shock is real, and it's intense because suddenly, the reality they relied on is gone. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things beyond our control." And here's where that Stoic wisdom kicks in. They were never truly in control, only under the illusion that they were. Your consistent availability gave them the comfort to think they could always count on you being there, no matter how they acted or how little they gave back. But the moment you pull away, that illusion shatters. The control they thought they had slips right through their fingers, and now they're left grappling with the loss. This loss isn't just about missing you. It's about realizing they never had power over you to begin with. You just allowed them to think they did. When you pull away, you don't just create space, you create a void that they can't easily fill. They'll tell themselves they're fine, that they don't need you, but deep down, panic sets in. The shock of losing control is not something they can brush off with casual indifference. They may try to act cool on the surface, but internally, they're scrambling. Every minute you're not reaching out, not checking in, they feel the growing weight of your absence. And the more they try to ignore it, the heavier it gets. This is the power of pulling away. You force them to confront the truth that they've been avoiding. Without you, their world feels a lot less stable. But pulling away effectively requires more than just disappearing for a day or two. It's not about playing mind games or testing them. It's about reclaiming your power and walking away with purpose. If you really want to make an impact, you have to be consistent. No late-night texts, no just checking in messages, no half-hearted engagement. Every time you reach out, you give them a taste of the control they lost. The key is to be firm in your decision and to stay gone long enough for them to feel the full weight of your absence. It's not about punishing them. It's about respecting yourself enough to stop chasing and start valuing your own time and energy. Now, I get it. Letting go is hard, especially when you've invested so much of yourself into this person. You've been the one holding things together, making the effort, doing all the work to keep the connection alive. The idea of stepping back might feel terrifying, like everything will fall apart if you don't keep trying. But here's the harsh truth. If pulling away causes the relationship to crumble, it was never strong enough to begin with. Your constant presence has been a crutch, enabling their behavior, making it easy for them to take you for granted. If they really value you, they'll step up when you step back. If they don't, then you'll know exactly where you stand, and you can walk away, knowing you didn't lose anything worth keeping. Think of it this way. Pulling away is like cutting the strings of a puppet. For so long, you've been moving to their tune, reacting to their whims, giving in whenever they pulled at you. But what happens when you cut those strings? The puppet stops moving, and the puppeteer is left holding nothing but a tangle of useless threads. That's exactly what you're doing when you pull away. You're cutting the strings that tied you to their control, and once those strings are cut, they can't manipulate you anymore. You're free, and the shock for them? It's realizing they never had control over you, only the illusion of it. I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. Pulling away will be uncomfortable. It's going to feel like you're ripping out a part of yourself, especially if you've been the one holding on for so long. But that discomfort is the price of freedom. It's the first step in taking back your power, and it's a necessary one. You've been playing their game for far too long, and it's time to stop. You're not walking away to hurt them or to manipulate them. You're walking away because you deserve better. You deserve to be with someone who values you without having to chase after them. Someone who sees your worth without needing to be shown time and time again. So here's the challenge. Don't click away. Don't give in to the urge to check their social media or send them a message just to feel like you're still connected. That's the old you. You are stepping into a new version of yourself, someone who knows their worth, who doesn't beg for attention, and who refuses to be an option. This is just the beginning, the first step in a journey that will transform you into the one worth chasing. And let me tell you, this isn't a one-time move. You won't change your life with a single step. It takes consistency, patience, and the strength to endure the discomfort of walking away and staying away. Number 2, their ego takes a nosedive. When you pull away, their ego, which once stood tall and unshaken, begins to crumble. At first, they won't show it. They'll put on a front, telling themselves it's nothing. They'll come back. They always do. But deep inside, cracks are forming. This isn't just a momentary bruise to their pride. It's a slow, painful nosedive that shakes the very foundation of their sense of self. They've built their ego on the idea that they had control over you, that you'd always be there, and that no matter what, you'd keep showing up. But now, that illusion is gone, and their ego can't take the hit. He who is not a slave to his ego is truly free, said Seneca, and that's exactly what they're forced to confront. The truth that their sense of importance was tied to your presence. The harsh reality hits them. They weren't as irreplaceable as they thought. You see, their ego didn't just thrive off your attention, it depended on it. Your effort, availability, and emotional investment were the lifeblood feeding their self-importance. And now that you've taken all that away, their ego is gasping for air. At first, they'll act indifferent. They might even flaunt their so-called freedom, posting pictures with friends, acting like nothing's changed. But that's just a front. Inside, they're spiraling, questioning everything. Why aren't they calling? What if they've moved on? What if I'm not as special as I thought? These thoughts keep them awake at night. Their self-assured image is starting to crack, and it's only a matter of time before the pieces fall apart. Pulling away forces them to confront something they never expected, the mirror of reality. They start realizing how much of their confidence was built on your consistent presence. When they thought they had you figured out, when they believed you'd always be there no matter how they treated you, they fed their ego with that false security. Now, without you there to validate them, that sense of control evaporates, and their ego begins to nosedive straight into insecurity. Here's the part that might surprise you. The deeper their ego falls, the more desperate they become to reclaim what they lost. They'll try to act like they don't care, posting on social media, talking to new people, or pretending they're having the time of their life. But make no mistake, these actions aren't about moving on. They're about trying to pull you back, about desperately grasping for the power they once thought they had. It's a game of appearances, one designed to mask the fear that they've lost you for good. But don't get fooled. This is where many people slip. When you see them flaunting their so-called happiness, you might feel the urge to step back in, to check on them, to remind them that you still care. But that's exactly what you must resist. If you reappear now, you give them exactly what they want, proof that their ego still has a hold on you. They'll feel validated, thinking, "See, I knew they couldn't stay away." And just like that, the power shifts back into their hands. Instead, you need to stay firm. Their ego's nosedive is part of the process, and it's necessary. They need to hit rock bottom to realize that the power they thought they had over you was never real. And trust me, the longer you stay silent, the deeper that nosedive becomes. Every day you don't reach out, their self-assured facade crumbles a little more. Every text they don't receive, every call that doesn't come, feels like another nail in the coffin of their ego. It's not just rejection they're feeling. It's the loss of the comfort they had in thinking you'd always be there. Let me give you an example. Imagine a relationship where you've always been the one making the effort. You text first, plan dates, and initiate conversations. Over time, they start acting like it's all just expected, like they're doing you a favor by being in your life. Their ego tells them they can take you for granted because you'll always be there. But then one day, you stop. No more texts, no more plans, no more effort. At first, they laugh it off. They're just busy. They'll reach out soon. But as the silence grows, so does their anxiety. Suddenly, the person who thought they had all the control is left wondering if they've lost you for good. And that's when it hits them. Their ego wasn't built on real strength, but on the false security of having you always show up. Now, without that safety net, they're left scrambling to pick up the pieces of their shattered confidence. Here's the truth. It's not your job to fix their ego. They need to feel the weight of your absence. They need to understand that real confidence doesn't come from having control over others. It comes from within. And in this moment, the best thing you can do is stay silent. Let them sit with the discomfort. Let them wrestle with their doubts. Let their ego fall as far as it needs to. This is where the transformation happens for both of you. For them, it's the realization that they can't rely on others to prop up their sense of self. And for you, it's the freedom of knowing that you no longer have to chase anyone for validation. Their nose-diving ego isn't your problem. It's their lesson to learn. So here's your challenge. Stay with me. Don't give in to the temptation to reach out or check in. This is just the beginning of the process, and if you stop now, you'll never see the full transformation. Stick with me until the end. We're only getting started. To let me know you're serious about this journey and ready to become the one worth chasing, drop "I'm done feeding egos" in the comments. This is your declaration that you're no longer in the business of holding others together while breaking yourself. The old version of you, the one that sought validation, is gone. You are stepping into your power now. And trust me, when you fully embrace this step, the rest will follow. You'll become someone they can't ignore, someone who no longer needs to chase, because you are the one worth chasing. Number 3. The insecurity spiral. When you pull away, it doesn't just leave them wondering where you've gone. It ignites a wildfire of doubt and insecurity that spreads through every corner of their mind. The insecurity spiral starts slow but grows relentless with every moment of silence. Suddenly, they're drowning in questions they never thought they'd ask. Was it something I said? Are they with someone else? Did I push them away? Have they finally realized they deserve better than me? Each question feeds the next, dragging them deeper into self-doubt. And the worst part? There are no answers, only endless uncertainty. At first, they might try to convince themselves that they don't care. They'll come back, they always do. They tell themselves. But as your silence stretches and the absence of your attention grows louder, their confidence starts to erode. What once felt like certainty becomes shaky ground, and every memory of you suddenly becomes a trigger for doubt. They replay conversations, dissect old texts, and search for clues they missed, obsessing over every detail. The spiral pulls them further down, and no matter how hard they try to ignore it, the insecurities only tighten their grip. The human mind hates uncertainty. It craves resolution, closure, and control. But when you pull away, you deny them all three. They are left with fragments of what once was, desperately trying to piece them together into a story that makes sense. But here's the twist. There is no story that makes sense to them because you've disrupted the script. The person they thought would always be there has vanished, and now they're left with nothing but questions that tear at their self-esteem. In a relationship, this spiral can be brutal. Imagine they were always the one who kept things on their terms. They gave just enough to keep you hanging on, but never enough to make you feel secure. Now that you've pulled back, the tables have turned. They feel the very insecurity they once made you live with, and it's eating them alive. They wonder if they misjudged you, if they let someone valuable slip through their fingers, and worst of all, if you've already moved on to someone better. That fear grows louder with every day that passes without a text or call from you. Even if they try to distract themselves with friends, hobbies, or new connections, the insecurity lingers. Every smile they force feels hollow. Every moment of fun is tainted by the thought of you. What if I ruined it? What if they're happier without me? These questions follow them like shadows they can't outrun. They scroll through your social media, looking for signs of who you've become without them. But every photo they see, or don't see, only fuels their anxiety. The spiral grips them tighter, making it harder to think of anything else. This insecurity is the mirror they've been avoiding, forcing them to confront parts of themselves they've long ignored. They start questioning their worth, doubting their actions, and replaying every interaction. It's no longer just about losing you, it's about losing the image they had of themselves. They start to wonder, what if I'm not good enough? What if they were always out of my league? The more they spiral, the harder it becomes to hold on to the confidence they once had. But here's the beauty of it. This spiral isn't your problem. It's their journey to take, and you are no longer part of it. You've stepped away, not to manipulate or hurt them, but to reclaim your peace and power. Their insecurities are a reflection of their actions, not your worth. And the longer you stay silent, the more they are forced to sit with those insecurities and face the consequences of taking you for granted. If pulling away feels hard for you, that's normal. You might feel tempted to check on them, to see if they're struggling, or to offer comfort out of habit. But every time you reach out, you cut short the process they need to go through. Their insecurity spiral is necessary. It's how they learn. If you step in too soon, they'll never understand what it feels like to truly lose you. They'll never realize the value of what they had until they're left to deal with the aftermath of their own behavior. So let them spiral. Let them wrestle with the doubt, the fear, and the anxiety. It's not your job to pull them out of it. Your only job is to focus on yourself, to keep moving forward, and to trust that their insecurities are part of their growth, not yours. You've already done the hard part by stepping away. Now, it's time to hold your ground. Drop "I'm done chasing" in the comments if you're ready to let go of the need to fix others and focus on your own journey. Stick with me. This is just the beginning. The transformation starts with knowing when to pull back and when to let others face the consequences of their actions. And trust me, once you embrace this step, you'll become the one they can't stop thinking about. Number 4. The mind games they play with themselves. When you pull away, the first person they try to fool isn't you, it's themselves. Their mind becomes a battlefield of denial and desperation, and they start playing tricks on themselves just to stay sane. At first, they'll tell themselves it doesn't matter. They'll be back. They always come back. It's their way of holding on to a sense of control that no longer exists. They try to downplay your absence, convincing themselves they're unaffected. But the truth is, the longer you stay away, the harder it becomes to maintain that facade. Deep down, the panic sets in. What if this time they really don't come back? The real mind game starts with them rewriting history. They'll tell themselves that they didn't need you anyway, that you were too emotional, too needy, too much. They'll run through scenarios in their mind, trying to convince themselves that it's better now that you've stepped back. But that's just the fear talking. They know deep down that they never thought this moment would come, that you'd actually walk away. And the more they try to act like they're fine, the more their mind betrays them, bringing back memories and regrets they can't escape. Their mind becomes a maze of what-ifs. What if I had answered that last text? What if I didn't act so distant? What if I've ruined everything? They replay your conversations over and over, dissecting every word, trying to pinpoint where things went wrong. And the worst part? They keep waiting for a sign, a message, a call, anything from you to prove that they still matter. But with every hour that passes without contact, the cracks in their confidence deepen. The silence eats away at them, making them second-guess everything. They also resort to overanalyzing your actions. Every social media post becomes a mystery to decode. Are they trying to send me a message? Are they seeing someone else? They'll stalk your profiles, looking for clues, hoping to find any shred of evidence that you still care. And when they find nothing, it only drives them deeper into their mental spiral. Their own mind becomes their worst enemy, spinning scenarios and creating stories that leave them exhausted and confused. This is the beauty of pulling away. You create a silence so loud that they can't help but fill it with thoughts of you. They thought they were in control, but now they're prisoners to their own imagination, stuck in a cycle of doubt, regret, and obsession. The mind games they play are not about outsmarting you, they're about trying to outsmart themselves. But no matter what stories they tell, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. You're gone, and they have no idea how to get you back. And here's where you stay strong. You don't break the silence. You don't reach out. Let them wrestle with their own mind. Every moment they spend trapped in their thoughts is a reminder of the power they lost and the power you've gained. Stay the course, because their mental games are just the beginning. The longer you stay silent, the more they unravel, and the more your absence becomes impossible to ignore. Number 5. The fear of replacement. Once you pull away, something dark creeps into their mind. The fear of replacement. This fear isn't just a fleeting thought. It's a deep growing anxiety that slowly takes over. They thought they had control, that you'd always be there waiting. But now you're gone, and the void you left behind forces them to confront a possibility they didn't prepare for. What if someone else steps in and takes your place? That thought terrifies them, and once it takes root, it's almost impossible to shake. At first, they try to brush it off. They tell themselves, they'll come back, they just need space. But as the silence grows louder and days stretch into weeks, reality sinks in. Every moment without you feels like a ticking bomb. Because what if you're not just giving them space? What if you've already moved on? Their mind begins racing, creating imaginary scenarios. They picture you with someone new, someone who sees your worth without hesitation. That mental image haunts them, and they can't stop replaying it, wondering if they've lost you forever. This fear isn't just about jealousy, it's deeper than that. It's the realization that they gambled with your time and attention, assuming you'd always be there, only to find themselves on the losing side. Now they can't stop thinking, what if I've been replaced? What if they're giving someone else what they used to give me? The fear becomes suffocating. They start comparing themselves to an imaginary replacement, questioning if that person is funnier, kinder, or better than they ever were. It's a vicious cycle, one that drags them deeper into insecurity with every passing day. And the worst part? They know they've brought this on themselves. Your absence forces them to reflect on all the times they took you for granted, assuming you'd stick around no matter how little effort they gave. Now they're left to wonder if someone else is enjoying what they threw away. They might not admit it out loud, but inside, it eats away at them. And the longer they sit with that fear, the more desperate they become. When this fear takes hold, they start making subtle moves to test the waters. You'll notice little things, maybe a random message, a like on an old post, or a friend casually mentioning that they asked about you. They're fishing for reassurance, trying to see if they still have a chance before someone else steps in. But here's the key. Don't take the bait. If you engage, you hand the power right back to them. This is your time to stay silent and let them feel the full weight of the fear they created. The fear of replacement is powerful because it forces them to see your value in a way they never did before. They know they can't replace you, and that realization burns. But here's where your strength lies. You're no longer waiting for them to realize your worth. You've already taken the step to move forward, and whether or not someone new enters your life, you're not looking back. So embrace this power shift. Let them sit with the fear. Let them wonder. And remember, the moment you stop chasing is the moment you become the one worth chasing. Stay firm, stay grounded, and trust the process. The fear of replacement is theirs to carry, not yours. Number 6. Their brain becomes your prisoner. When you pull away, something strange happens. They might not realize it right away, but their mind becomes a prison, And the prisoner? You. Every moment they spend without you becomes a mental loop they can't escape. They replay old conversations, dissecting every word and interaction, searching for clues. Why did they stop texting? What are they thinking? Are they with someone else? These questions haunt them, circling through their mind like an endless carousel. And the more they try to push them away, the stronger they come back. This isn't just about missing your presence. It's about the fact that they no longer have access to you. When you were always around, they could take you for granted, knowing they could reach out any time and you'd respond. But now, you're unreachable. That inaccessibility plants a seed of obsession in their mind, and it starts to grow, slowly at first, then rapidly, until thoughts of you become their constant companion. Your absence isn't just noticed, it becomes a niche they can't scratch, a puzzle they can't solve. Their brain, once filled with distractions and trivial things, now has a new focus. You. You become the person they think about first thing in the morning and the last thing at night. They'll start scrolling through their phone, checking if they missed a message or stalking your social media, hoping for a clue about what you're doing. But here's the kicker. You give them nothing. No texts, no updates, no breadcrumbs to follow. And the lack of information only makes them crave it more. Have you ever tried to stop thinking about something only to realize the harder you try, the more it consumes your mind? That's exactly what happens to them. The brain is wired to fixate on things it can't have, and now that you're no longer accessible, they want you more than ever. It's not even about love or affection. It's about regaining the control they thought they had. But here's the catch. The harder they try to stop thinking about you, the tighter the grip you have on their mind. Even in moments when they try to distract themselves, you'll still be there. A song on the radio, a familiar place, even an inside joke they once shared with you. Everything reminds them of you, and they'll hate it. They'll hate that, no matter what they do, you're still there, lingering like a shadow they can't escape. They'll hate that you're the first person they think of, even when they don't want to. The more they try to move on, the more you dominate their thoughts, and they'll find themselves in a losing battle with their own mind. This is where your power lies. You've pulled away, and in doing so, you've taken up space in their mind that no one else can fill. Every day that you stay silent, you solidify your place as the one they can't stop thinking about. And the beauty of it? You're not even trying. Your absence does all the work, making you unforgettable. Their brain, it's yours now. Number 7. The void feels like a punch to the gut. When you pull away, something unexpected happens. They don't just miss you, they feel the absence of you like a sharp blow to the chest. It's not the ordinary kind of longing that passes after a few days. No, this is a void that gnaws at them like a slow, relentless ache they can't escape. The same person who once acted indifferent to your presence now finds themselves haunted by your absence. And here's the brutal truth. They thought they were fine without you. They were confident they could carry on just as they always have. But now that you've pulled away, it's hitting them like a punch to the gut, a feeling they never prepared for. They start to realize that you weren't just filling space in their life. You were the glue holding things together. Your presence provided comfort, security, and a sense of belonging that they never acknowledged until it was gone. And now, without it, they feel lost. The void you've left isn't just empty, it's heavy, and it drags on them like a weight they can't shake off. This is the kind of emptiness that turns every quiet moment into a reminder of what they no longer have. It's that silence in the late hours of the night, the absence of your good morning texts, and the lack of your attention that they were so used to. Each of these small absences feels like a cut, and over time, they all start to bleed. And here's the catch. They can't just fill this void with distractions. They'll try. Oh, they'll try. They'll hang out with friends, dive into hobbies, or maybe even rush into new relationships, hoping that something, anything, can replace the hole you left behind. But it doesn't work. Nothing compares to the feeling of having you in their life. The more they search for substitutes, the deeper the void becomes. It's like trying to quench a thirst with salt water. The more they drink, the more desperate they feel. And every time they come up empty-handed, the blow hits harder. This void isn't just about losing your presence. It's about realizing how much they took you for granted. It's a painful awakening, one where every good moment they shared with you replays in their mind like a bittersweet movie reel. But now, instead of experiencing those moments with joy, they're left grasping at memories that only highlight how much they lost. They remember the small things, the way you listened, the way you made them feel seen, the way you always showed up when it mattered. And the harshest truth? They never thought those moments would stop. They never imagined you'd be gone. But now that you are, every second without you feels like an echo in a canyon, reminding them of what they let slip through their fingers. Metaphorically, this void is like a missing piece from a puzzle. No matter how much they try to rearrange the remaining pieces, the picture will never look right without that one piece, you. And that realization eats away at them slowly. They scroll through their phone, staring at your old messages, hoping that somehow revisiting the past will make the emptiness disappear. But it doesn't. The messages are just words now, reminders of something real that they can't get back. And the more they search for you in those texts, the more they realize you're gone. The harder it becomes to face that void. In relationships, this void is especially crushing if they thought you'd always be there, if they thought you'd keep giving endlessly. They never considered what it would feel like when you stopped. Now, they feel the absence of the person who gave them stability, care, and effort without hesitation. And as time passes, that absence becomes undeniable. They start noticing the cracks in their life, the things they ignored because you were there to hold everything together. And now that you're gone, those cracks start to widen until all they're left with is the shattered remains of a connection they thought would last forever. If it feels difficult to create this kind of void, I understand. Pulling away from someone you care about is one of the hardest things to do, but sometimes it's the only way they can fully realize the value of what they've lost. It's only through that emptiness that they can understand just how much you meant.